sorry, we're on.
We're on. Right.
Are we live? Boom, we're on. Is that what
Let's go back to the start. Come on.
Wait, so... Wait, no, it's fine. Is it recording now? We're good. We're good. We can start for there.
Right, perfect.
It's always good to start with a laugh. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's always good to start with a laugh. That was hilarious, actually. Right. So, welcome back to the All About It podcast. I realised, I used to really struggle doing these intros, right? Mm-hmm. But then you start realising that you need to actually say, this is a podcast and the name of it so people know what is happening. Because I feel like a lot of the time I just start talking about something and then people that have never watched it before will tune in and be like, what am I even listening to?
Here,
What's happening here? So, we are back with the most handsome podcast host.
Oh, come on.
Well, I mean, podcast host / and then we've got obviously the Fox. The Fox is live in studio.
What's happening?
We've been trying to get this, Dan. We've been trying to get this
for
ages, man.
For ages.
And I'm actually insulted by how it's taken.
I know, mate. Same. Every single time we've been like, it gets right to the point we're about to do it, and then boom, it doesn't happen.
Well, boom, we're on.
Boom, we're on.
But no, mate. Listen, I've watched I've been obviously do you know how when you prepare for a podcast, you try to think of questions to ask folks and topics to go in, but you're quite a unique situation when I'm like, this guy is just so fucking funny, man, right? And I'm also
Thanks, mate.
But I don't really know, you were on Rayleigh's gaff for an hour and a half, right? And then you did Fit's Been Happening as well.
Aye.
The podcast that I don't think that's going anymore, but just from a while ago. And I'm watching them, right? And I'm thinking, I still don't know really anything about this guy.
Aye. No, I get that. I understand that. I don't know what people like. If people ask me questions as well, I feel like I don't know. See, when I come on podcasts and that, my anxiety goes pure sky high and that. So I feel like I just shoot off to the other person and ask them questions. And then if it's been happening, I think I was just steaming. So whatever I was saying might have not actually made any sense anyway.
No, I realised that when I was watching it, I was like, should I just get him in loads of drink? Just get him drunk
the same situation.
And just go for that. But what's really interesting about that is you say how you feel when you get in podcasts, you feel that kind of anxiety, right?
Aye.
And I get you, man, because I had it for a while as well, but you just kind of get used to it. But I think what I find interesting about that is the fact that when you do these videos, right, you do these TikToks and that, you seem so
confident.
Confident.
Mate, I know.
And it's like,
I feel the same. See, that's a big thing. See, if I'm in my house and that, and I'm just talking to myself, which sounds weird to say, I'll get put in fucking jail for that. But if I'm just talking to myself on camera and that, I'm the most confident person ever. When it comes to stuff like this, I'm like, the anxiety eats my life. But I've always been anxious in that. I just think I can hide it better when it's just me making videos in my house, basically.
It is strange though, because the thing with anxiety, right? I used to think it was it could be this constant state someone has, I've got really bad anxiety, right? But then you kind of through I guess therapy and stuff, and yes, shocker, I have done loads of therapy. If you've listened to this podcast regularly and not realised the fact that I've needed help, then But I think in that you realise that basically one of the things you get taught is that anxiety can come from, and I get there's different variants of this, but for a lot of people, when they get anxious about certain situations, it's for a reason. It's not like it just appear. It doesn't just appear.
Exactly. It's not just randomly that it comes along.
Exactly, and and I think it's one of those things where when you're doing a video, you seem very comfortable within yourself almost. But what I quite like about it is people that watch you probably think, that guy is the most confident guy.
Because I feel like if I was in videos and I looked awkward in them, people would be like, oh, that's making me cringe. But as long as if I'm acting like a dafty in a video, I need to be confident in acting like a dafty. I can't be like a dafty and be so awkward about it or whatever. But then it is when you're saying that, did you say you went to therapy and that for a while now? Yeah. I went to the doctors and I got sertraline and that, and I done that. There's a beating the blues or whatever. It's is it CBT sort of thing? Mm-hmm. I done that for a while, and that was to combat anxiety and that. And I gave up with it. It's just a bad thing to do, right? But when I was doing that, I did understand that there's certain wee points where it does come for a pot. There's triggers that happens when you're anxious and that. It's not just a feeling where you just think that you as a person is anxious the whole time. There's a reason why you're anxious and all that. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So what's going on with your head then? What's happening with it? Well, as long as you want me.
I don't know. There's so many things. I think that I'm just a shy person as it is, and then because I'm in my own house and I'm making these videos, I'm so confident in that. But then that can make me look like I'm so confident outside of that, so people can expect that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's bad. Like unless I'm like see sometimes if I'm at like out for a night at the weekend or whatever, people are like, oh, that's like Darren Fox or whatever. I can be, if I'm not pissed, I can be like that. Like, leave me alone. You know what I mean? But if I'm pissed, I can be doing fucking whatever I'm doing in the videos and that stuff. So I think it's just feeling comfortable in myself for what I'm doing.
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean. I think it's what's cool about that is that there's certain ways that you feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it just goes to show that how you feel doesn't necessarily mean need to dictate how you act.
Exactly.
So like every person that you see that appears confident or like comfortable with themselves is still feeling anxiety or still feeling nervousness. They're just choosing not to show that.
They can hide it better. There's some people that I maybe find out after conversations that I'd be like, oh, they were anxious there. Because some people can just hide it better than you would, and maybe they acted a different way, and you're like, why were they acting like that way? But maybe because they're just so anxious about what's going on or whatever, like, you know what I mean?
Aye, but because that's the thing that used to mess me up for years, mate, is thinking that every thought I had means I need to do something about it.
Aye. Matt, do you know what always goes on with me is the same thing, right? When I'm speaking or when I'm talking, my mind is going, it's always just checking what I'm saying. It's like, well, what'd you say that for? Like, as I'm talking, basically. So it's like I'm getting a running commentary in myself when I'm in a conversation, which is like, it's no good because you want to feel in the moment, but also you're like, oh wait, why did I say that? And then you're cringing at the thought of you saying something right after you've said it, basically.
No, that's exactly it. Is that kind of what you're... Is that voice the other personalities we've seen in your videos?
I know, mate, that's 100% what it is. Because if I'm up, like, some of the ideas I get from my videos is me having a conversation in my head about something like cringy, and then another voice saying like, what the fuck are you doing that for? Right? And that other voice is like the confident me or like whatever. The other voice saying like, no, because there's always two different sides. There's one side that's getting, I don't know, maybe like bullied for being like, like being anxious, and the other voice is like, what the fuck are you doing here? And it's basically the conversation I have in my head, and I go, that'll be funny, I'll put that in a video. That's basically how it happens. You've cracked the case, like, yeah.
There we go. I mean, maybe when Evan and Jimmy called me a doctor, they were honest.
Exactly, I know. This is a therapy lounge, like, that's what I feel like.
No, it's because I'm always... People always say to me, like, how come you don't have like a spreadsheet of questions in front of you and that? And it's because I'm always curious about how somebody works. So when I watch your videos and that, the reason why I want to have you on in that is because I'm thinking to myself, how is this guy, what is it that's actually happening with this guy? Like,
what is going on with this guy?
What's his thought process in this? And it's like, and then it's like actually like listening to what you're saying and going, right, well, then that sounds like that must be the voices in your head, so to speak, are that the characters that you see in these things. Or
like these situations where because like it's quite good when you can pick out when you're anxious in situations and see stuff like if you're about somewhere, right, and someone says something to you that's cheeky as anything, right, but you go like they want me, right, and you walk away and go, what the fuck were they just saying that for? And you start raging with yourself in your head and go, like, you have all the comebacks ready for them and that. It's when after that I start going, like, I make the videos, and then that's like me, like, if I was in that moment, I wish that I could have said this. But I think that my mind just, like I said earlier, my mind works that fast that when something's happening, I think my defense mechanism is to go like that. Even if I'm getting slagged, fuck it, and then like they walk away and I go, fucking, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know, it's like cool to hear you say that because I think that's a really common thing.
Aye.
People have all these thoughts and it's like racing and it's. There seems to be like a common trend of like, people that are make these videos that are quite funny that have like these sort of ADHD tendencies.
That's
in a way. Do you know what I mean? Without trying to diagnose you.
And I've not been diagnosed, but I've been told by many people that I might have it. Like, I feel like that.
It's like that tendency to just have your mind just racing with thoughts, and I get like that as well. But there's certain things I do to sort of like calm myself down, like we were talking about earlier. Like I do the workouts.
Aye, that does help.
And it's like the way that I like to look at it is if I do like a really hard workout, then doing a podcast is going to feel easy in comparison to that.
Aye.
You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting here, I used to be pure stressed out about doing stuff like this, and then I'm thinking to myself, like, 2 hours ago I was doing a 10k in a handbike, and that felt a lot fucking harder than talking to a
And
microphone.
when you're doing it, like, because that's mental, you've done this like 90 days, it is, like, and that's just without break. Every day you're getting up and doing that. That's
that's right, aye.
mental to me, like, because I go for, but all I really do is go for runs, like, but I try and go for.
Don't run too much, man.
I try and go for a run twice a week, right? And then see the days when I go for a run, I feel amazing after it. Like the confidence I have in that is class. So I went for one this morning. I normally go for a run at, like, after a night shift, but this morning I got up early and I went for a run because I was like, I've got a podcast today, so I'll do that, right? And actually does make you feel so much better. Like they always say about mental health and that, how it helps, but it does. There's something about it, like the endorphins and that releases. But the days when maybe I've not, like, it's just weird. The confidence is just no there. Like, have you ever done it? Well, obviously you've done it 90 days, so you've. I think you can remember back to when you've not done a workout before a podcast. But see, when you've done that, have you ever felt like, I can't be arsed in this podcast or whatever?
Oh, it's so, you're so right with that, because it's such a thing where it's like you feel so much more loose after it, as if a weight's been lifted off your head.
You do, 100%.
And I think it's just because, see how we're talking about, you have like these thoughts that are racing through your head. When you do something like that, it just sort of quietens them a wee bit, and allows you to focus in on the moment of what you're doing. Like, you're saying, like, Dad, I remember before the 90 days, that's exactly why I've been so consistent, is because of the fact I do remember what it was like.
Oh, right.
And it was shite. Like, it was so, see, coming in here, like, pure feeling unfit and just not, like you just described there, when you don't do it, you feel a bit more anxious and stuff like that. Like, there's so many ways you can go that you overthink scenarios. And see, when you're trying to do a podcast and that, and you're just, like, somebody's talking to you, but you're thinking about that something that you did that was messed up five years ago, man.
Your mind is like taken over by it.
And then they say something, like, somebody will say like a big elaborate answer, and then you'll be like, cool, yeah, so where do we go for here?
I know.
Like, and it's so bad as well, because the guests will look at you and they'll know that you don't have a clue what to say next. And there's something just pure, like, one of the reasons why I've been able to be so consistent this year with it is because basically by the end of last year, right, I realised it was like on the last day of the year, we're approaching the bells, right, and I'm going, for the past like 3 years, I've got to the end of the year feeling shite.
Right.
And I'm going, what's happened here? How come this keeps happening to me? What is it that's going on? And because during all those times, I've had like 2 or 3 months where I've been like doing really well or feeling really good in that. And then you just, so then you wonder how you got from that point to get to the end of the year and feeling like this. And then I sort of realised it was, it was about the fact that I was concentrating on things that weren't in my control, like relationships with lasses, or how my powership football was going,
right?
Or these things that I cared about. That because we all want to be with somebody, we all want to have success in certain bits and all that. And when things go tits up, or they don't necessarily go the way you want them to go, I'm a very emotional guy. I'm very, very heart in my sleeve type of person. Mate. I'm very heart in my sleeve type of person, and it was very much like putting a lot of time into things that weren't going to be in my control. And so by the end of the year, I'd be like, fuck, man, this is... Like, I've not been at the gym for weeks. And I feel terrible.
And do you feel like, well, see if it was, sorry, but in there, see if it was the same with me, like, if I'd stopped going, like, running for a while and that, right, it'd only happen, like, I'd maybe say, I'll just leave it this week, and then that week we turn it in, like, 2 weeks, right, and then 3 weeks, and then it'd get to the point where I go, I've not been in ages, so what's the fucking point of going anymore? It'll just bulge into one thing. It's the snowball effect of thinking, like, well, I was doing so well there, but then, you know what, I've not done it in this way, I'm going to be shit now going for this run, so now I could just have to forget about it. And then you look back and you go, or when you start again, you say, why was I leaving this out for so long?
That is like, you couldn't have said that any better. That's exactly what it is, isn't it? It's like, your mind is playing tricks with you. It's completely playing tricks with you, and it's like giving you justifications to not do things.
So many times
all the time. But that's it's all what you've just described there. I think what a lot of people go through, right? And this is the kind of conclusion I came to about all this stuff. Right. Is that the time? So I got to the end of the year and I'm thinking, what was it that made me feel like shit? Or I was like, oh, she broke my heart or something. And you're like, oh, that woman ruined my life. Right. But then you get to like the end of the year and you go, I'm not actually upset about that. I'm upset about how I responded to that.
Dealt with it and stuff. Aye.
So then it's a case of realizing the time. Whether you do it or you don't do it, the time's going to pass anyway.
Exactly.
Right?
I know.
So, and like you say, when you're thinking, well, I missed it a few days and then that week turns into 2, it's about deciding to do it that day and being like, I can decide to do it today. And see, in the flip side of what you just said there, see when you do it on days that you're pure like,
the feeling of it.
but like you've had a really busy day and you've not had time.
Yeah.
And it's like fucking 10 o'clock at night and you know what? See, when you just do that anyway, when you do it on days like that, you start going, I can just do it on every day.
Exactly. There's no excuses after that.
So it can go the opposite way.
Aye.
And that, like, when you do it on a day that's pure hard, you start going, well, I'll do it. I can just do it any other day.
Aye.
And then that's how. So everything basically is momentum.
Aye.
And it's like you say, you get to a point after a few weeks, like a month or something, and you start doing it again. You're going, and then you feel good about it, and you're like, why have I just?
Exactly, I know. And then it makes you feel better about, like, see when you get days when you're like, I can't be arsed again. The days when you did go for it, when you can be arsed, you think about that and you go, oh, I done it then. Like, and you realise how good you felt after doing it when you felt like you couldn't do it at all. Mm-hmm. And it makes you feeling better. Like, I have a good day then, I can do it now. And they days sort of spur you on to keep going and going. Like, and then so that's why I think about like you in 90 days. Like, see when I started running in that, I'd think to myself, I need to keep this up for ages, right? And then I'd find excuses, like, so I'd always go for runs out, like in the mornings after my work. So I finished work at like 7 in the morning. And see when it started getting dark, like early, that's my excuse to be like, I can't do it anymore. I can't go, what if I fucking slip on ice and I fucking crack my head open and that, right? And that just turned into like me not going for runs for ages. Mm-hmm. And then that was like 2 years ago. And then last year, I was just like, I'll just go for, like, I just made the decision to go for runs, even when it's dark and like along the streets and that, the street lights are there. And then I was like, why did I stop this? Like, why did I actually, like, I was just making excuses for myself, basically. And then it felt amazing to be like, right, I could just keep this consistent now.
Well, because that like wee voice in your head wants to give you every reason not to do it.
Aye.
Because it's hard.
I know.
It's not hard. But one of the points you made that was really interesting there was talking about the fact that you feel like more, like, see when you do something like that, you do feel more confidence for it, I think.
Yeah.
Because you described it saying when you go a run, you feel like less anxious, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's because you've just done something that mentally your mind was kind of telling you not to do, and then you won that conversation.
You've overcome it.
And it's like doing those difficult things builds up confidence in you. I heard this quote that has really stuck with me. It was like, self-belief doesn't come from shouting affirmations in the mirror, but it comes from having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Mm-hmm. Meaning that, like, each day that you go through a challenge and you're having that debate and you decide to take that positive action, after that you go, I fucking did that.
I know. Aye, so
it's
true.
like,
because the days that I feel best is when I have done that, and then like I say, is like if the anxiety's there, or see, even if I'm at work and I'm feeling like down or whatever, I'll say to myself, I'll go for a run and I'll feel much better. And like 9 times out of 10, it always works. As soon as I've done that run, I'll come in and I'll get that buzz, and like you just feel so much more confident. Even that night you going into work, I've still got that buzz because I feel like, I've done something. So done something there. And then so the days when it's always going to happen, you're going to have days where you can't do it or whatever. I'll say, why didn't I do that? Like, if I just went for a run here, like I would have felt so much better. But you can't. I don't know. Another thing as well is you can't start blaming yourself too much. Like, stuff happens in that, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's a big point in this, is right. Is I'm not saying my advice is never going to be you should work out every single day, right?
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a maniac, but we can go into that a bit more. But the point that you're making there is really important. Like, because when we were speaking about the idea that when you go and do this, right, and then you don't, if you don't do it for a while, and you kind of beat yourself up and you go, well, I've not done it in ages, so what's the point? See, the more that you beat yourself up about it, the longer it goes on.
Exactly.
And then eventually, if it goes on for like 6 months, after the 6 month point, you get to a point physically and mentally where you go, I really need to sort myself out here.
I know.
Right? That's so the longer you wait, the more you're just like, so if you miss a day, 2 or a week, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that, see, the moment that you start thinking, I've not done that for a week, when it comes to that point where you go, well, it's been a while, so I might as well just leave it. When you're having that conversation, deciding to do it that day can be the thing that changes.
Exactly. That can like spur it on to like you doing it every other day and that. I know. Like, that's what I feel like as well. Like, there's times where I don't do it, and then like it spurs on to me going like, oh, I'm never doing it again. Then that's when like the eating starts coming into it, because I go, oh, fuck, I'm not done it anyway, so I'm gonna just eat what like. Do you know what I mean? It all spurs on to other stuff, like other stuff where you just turn into like, I just eat anything, and then I won't do any sort of exercise, and nothing will make sense to me. Like nothing will be, well, there'll be no point to me doing anything, like any exercise, unless I start running, because I'm like, oh, I've got the steps up then, and I can start continuing it this way. But if I cut that out, then I'm like, I'll have that bag of crisps. I'm gonna have that chocolate. You know what I mean? Like it'll spurs itself on in different ways.
Well, you're getting more steps in than me, that's for sure. No, like that's what it is. That's what we say when I'm saying it's all about the momentum, as well as all about ability, of course. The momentum of it is so important, because it's like you say, if you go and do a workout, there's a part of you that's going, I'm not going to have a takeaway the night, because then that makes the workout, because then you feel
pointless.
So then you start. Although even that kind of point, I used to think like that, where I go, well, I'm going to, if I, like, I'll justify, I'll say to myself, like, I'll have a takeaway or something like that, and I'll go, but the workout didn't mean anything then. It still does mean something.
I get that as well.
You'd rather have a takeaway after doing a workout than not. But what I'm saying is that it's all like a mental switch of being like, right, well, if I've not done the workout, so I'm not on that, like, it's like I've not started that positive momentum shift yet, so I might as well just have fucking hearts of chocolate and a takeaway. Do you know what I mean? If I'm going to let loose, I might as well let loose.
Go for the full pelt. I know.
That's what I feel like that happens. It's happened to me so many times. It happened to loads of people. And the biggest thing that I've taken from sort of years of doing that has been like, well, you don't need to do, like, I used to be like, see if I don't go to the gym twice a day and eat completely clean every single day, there's no point in doing anything.
Aye, I know, but and you make yourself such like a bad way to go about it, because then when you don't go for that, you just end up feeling so shit about yourself. See, to be honest, like, see, I went through, like, when I was in school, the only exercise I'd do would be going to like football after school or whatever that night, and then see, once I left school, I was just, every weekend I was just getting fucking pissed, and I didn't even know about exercise. I didn't know exercise existed for ages, and it wasn't until like lockdown when everything started piling up, like the weight mostly, but everything started piling up on me, and then I was like, I need to do something about this, and that's how it sort of flipped the switch. So it's just, I feel like there's probably people out there that are feeling the same way. They're like, fucking, like there's nowhere I can go about this. Like, I never ever thought that I'd start running ever.
No, Dad.
Like, until I got couch to 5K, and then I was like I'm fucking, like, this is probably the best thing that's ever that's for me. And next thing you know, I'm talking about it on a podcast. There you go. I feel like I'm actually like advertising for couch to 5K or something like that.
No, it's brilliant, but because it shows you how everybody goes through that. Like, we have this thing where we go, okay, I've messed, when we talk about beating ourselves up, like, I've messed this up for too long. It's my chance to fix this is gone. I might as well just say fuck it.
Aye.
Right? And it's like, and then you get to that point where you think there's no fixing this, and you because you've beaten yourself up for so long, right? But then you go, well, the point I'm making in saying that is that there's so many times where I've been there where I've thought, I've messed it up too much, I might as well just pack it in.
Aye.
Right?
That voice in your head just gets louder and louder. Basically.
Aye. But what I'm saying is that there's always, like, because what you want, if you're in that situation listening to this right now, you want somebody to say, here's an easy solution.
Aye.
Right? But the problem is that there are solutions, they're just not easy.
Aye, exactly.
They're just not easy.
I know.
And it's like, but the difference there is you need to stop telling yourself that it can't be done. Because it can be done. Because it's not, I mean, I did a charity thing a couple of years ago where I did 1,000k in a month, right?
Aye, that's unreal, man.
And it was 40k a day for 30 days. And it was, I can't even describe to you like the out-of-body experience.
Aye, that'd be unreal.
It was incredibly hard, right? And I thought, I'm never going to be able to do this. But the point is that I'd done it.
Aye.
And what it showed me is that you can literally do anything.
Exactly, aye.
Like, so if you're thinking something's really hard, like, it's supposed to be hard. But there's a difference between it being hard and being something that you can't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I can't walk, but you know, like, that doesn't mean that I can't put in work to be a better person. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that effort you put in there, what would you say was it for fit?
It was 1,000 kilometers in the month, so I had to do 40k a day to make that happen.
That's fucking mental. But imagine that feeling when you're like getting to like near that end of the month, like the feeling you'd have, like you've actually went through with this. It would have been unreal. Rather than if you just said, I can't do it, and that's it. Like,
well, that's the thing is, like, I mean, see how people talk about, like, when people talk about anxiety and stress and stuff, right? Life is going to be full of that. And you know how you, like, so if you, the way I like to put it is, imagine you've got, like, you know how everybody says don't judge a book by its cover? Imagine you've got like 2 books, right? And one book has like a cover where it's just like you know, chilling with your pals and you're never really, like, one of the examples you used was being in school and how when you're in school, especially in Scotland, it's like the culture is to go out and drink and get mad and take it and shit. I know, you know, it's all that kind of stuff, and it's like nobody's telling you, nobody's pulling you aside and going, you should probably take care of yourself as well. But during this, you know what I mean? Everything's just about meeting pals and try to get in that sort of social circle, and then you sort of leave school and you're like you see yourself becoming this sort of fat emotional mess of a person. You're like,
not taking care of yourself and that, like,
what's happened to this? But that comes from not doing, see that stuff that we're talking about with going the runs and doing the workouts.
Exactly, I know.
All that stuff's hard, right? But what I'm saying is when you don't do that stuff, your life becomes just as hard.
Because you're basically doing all that stuff to not look after yourself. Like, and then because you're saying about when you're going out and you're just getting drunk and that, like, I've done that for years because I never even thought about taking care of myself. It wasn't until I said to myself, I need to take care of myself, that it happened, because I was like, I can't go on for this long every weekend just getting away with it. And then, like, it wasn't until I was like, I never need to start looking after myself. And then it's the best thing I've ever done, because you start feeling the confidence, and then, like, for someone who has anxiety in that, you start finding a way to battle anxiety, and you know what I mean? So you're sort of like, especially when you compare it to drinking and that, the only way, you're not doing anything with anxiety there, except for maybe in that moment you're getting away from it, but the hangovers and stuff, you're just ramping it right up again.
Well, exactly, and it's all about balance, really. Like, I'm not saying that you need to work out all the time, or you need to never drink, or you need to not have like chocolate or that. But it's just like realising that, like, stop thinking. I think social media has a bit of a part to play in it as well, because people, guys, and will see, you know, other guys with 6-packs and think, you know, I need to be doing this spot on so I can look like that. But none of that really matters. What really matters is how you feel and doing a wee bit. Just
feeling better about yourself for going out and doing the wee things that you're doing. And that, you know what I mean?
And it's like, I used to, so see how we're talking about the night. I mean, I'm getting sidetracked into a million different things there, like, unintentionally. But what the point I was making about the book thing, to go back to that quickly, was that you can have like a cover of a book being like all the easy options you've got, and they look fun and enjoyable, and then you read it, but by the end of it, you're a mess. That person's a mess, right? And then you look at the cover of this other book, and it's like you in the gym, and you doing 10Ks, and you doing all this, and people are like, that looks pretty rough and boring and not that much fun. But then by the end of the book, you're a better person for it.
For going through it,
like,
exactly.
Emotionally, mentally, and physically. So what I'm saying is that, you know, the easy options appear easy right now because you're at a point where you're physically and mentally sort of able to just sort of take that on. But eventually, like, after a certain amount of time, when you become a bit more unfit and you become a bit more anxious and stuff like that, you start going, that easy option just became as hard as the option of going to the actual gym and doing this stuff. So it's strange, but what I was saying about the social media thing is it's all so easy to compare ourselves and have because when we talk about the 90 day thing, I never started this going, I want to get to 90 days. I just was like, let's just take one day at a time and make sure that with each day I'm just doing something.
That's probably a better way to look at it, rather than giving yourself that challenge and then like kicking yourself if you didn't make it or whatever.
I definitely kick myself. But
actually, when I said that, I was like,
I couldn't help myself. I had to do it. But that is literally, because Stephen, you need to kind of, as corny as this sounds, you need to sort of fall in love with the process of it. Because like, if I was doing this and was thinking, I need to get to 90 days, I need to get to 3 months or 6 months or whatever, then all of a sudden, every day becomes like a pure, you're never actually succeeding at anything every day because you're always going.
You try to get to that day. Yeah, I know.
And
that's
then you get to that day. Then what happens to there?
Exactly, that's so true. You need to actually enjoy the moment when you're in it. That's true. Like.
Otherwise, you're just wishing your life away. It's like take each day at a time. Take the individual wins. So the sponsor for this episode is Lab Solutions, who are a property maintenance company that's actually run by my brother. And listen, I may be better looking than him, but he's a great guy. And you should go and check out everything he does because he's one of the hardest working people I know. And I'm always making sure that anyone that sponsors this podcast has the same intentions as me and is coming from a good place. And he definitely is one of the hardest workers I know. He will take care of everything you need just in all those type of areas. And I just want you to make sure that go and check him out. Make sure that anything you contact Michael about, he'll be sure to help you out and give you the best service that you need each day and go take, like, not letting your emotions dictate how you act all the time.
Yeah, exactly, I know. See, to go back to talking about anxiety and that, I've listened to you talk about in your podcast how you used to have it in school and that. But then see, when I watch you now, I'm like, you're interviewing Grado and that stuff, right? And I'm like, that's fucking mental. Like, do you feel much more comfortable than what you did before? Or is it like, do you still have that coming into the situation?
It's a good question. But what I would say is that I feel like I'm more aware of what the do's and don'ts are.
Right.
Like I'm more aware of. So it's not that I don't like. You're never going to get rid of feelings, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's too many people out there that are talking about feelings as if we need to work on this so you can get rid of your anxiety or rid of nervousness. It's not going to go away. It's just about you. So it's not going to go away, but your understanding of it can get better. Mm-hmm. So I would say that, of course, I still get a little bit this and that, but I'm just more. It's about being comfortable in your own skin.
Aye, 100%.
You know, I'm not doing the podcast thinking, what if this person doesn't like what I've said about this or whatever. I'm just doing it as me, and then hopefully people can resonate with that and want to watch it. But I think that you just become more in tune with who you are and what ticks you off and what doesn't, and how you're feeling. Like, I'll be honest, like I thought. So you're talking about like obviously because when that anxiety that I felt in school and stuff was just because I was so alienated, and there was so many things about school that I felt as if I was not part of the group, and I was desperately trying to be part of the group, and it just wasn't happening.
Right.
And when you don't get that kind of stamp of approval anywhere, really, it becomes tough. And then, you know, because I wasn't really in the social circle, it made it difficult with lasses and stuff. And so you start realising that, like, I would be in the situations where like I'd be in these sort of what you would call situationships.
Right, I get it.
Over the last sort of few years, and I would be like, and I'd be feeling things, but I kind of realised that they weren't about the current situation; they were about what had happened 10 years ago in school or something. And then you go, what's going on with my head here? You know what I mean? So I just became out, like, everything you feel, everything you think is from what you've experienced in your life.
That's true.
And I think that when you start to realise how certain experiences have affected you, and then addressing that shit, and
you can work on it and stuff like that.
Exactly, you can work on it. So like the feelings never go away, but you just understand them more.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, is that how you feel as well?
I was, see, do you know, like in school and that, right? I only realise now how anxious I was in school and that. But I was just like in the way where I'd just be trying to like make people laugh all the time, or like just being so stupid and doing stuff just to get like an acceptance or make people laugh. And that's my way to like, just to get to know people or whatever. How I felt comfortable was just, it doesn't matter how stupid I was being. Like, do you know what I mean? And then it wasn't until like years later on that I realised how anxious I was as a person. Do you know what I mean? I think that is actually the girlfriend, like Asia that I'm with now, she was the one that taught me like, anxiety wasn't that. And I was like, well, I'm not got that. But then I realised how like stupid I was to think that. I've just got to like all over basically.
It's the thing is that we've all got we've all got these things.
Aye.
There's not an emotion that you won't feel through your life. Nobody's got through the end of life.
Aye, exactly. Aye.
You won't talk to an 8-year-old. There's not been like one 8-year-old you speak to that will be like, see, for 8 years my life's been cushy, man. It has been a pure breeze.
It's all perception in that. Like, if at their age that's going to be that they've had the hardest time, but then it's just whatever everyone's going through. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing from what you're saying there is learning to be comfortable with yourself.
Aye.
You're because you're doing these kind of jokes and sort of being that, for lack of a better way of putting it, class clown.
Yeah.
For their approval, right?
Aye.
But once you start going, turning that back on yourself, and I know this is like a deep, cheesy question, but it's like, do I like myself?
Mm-hmm. Aye.
What, and if I don't like myself, what is it that I don't like that I can actually work on here?
Aye, exactly. That's true.
So, you know, we all go through those sort of internal battles, but see, to be fair, sometimes you'll see somebody like online and that, and you'll be like, oh, they'd be a really cool podcast guest, whatever, and they come in and they're sound, but they're just completely different to what their sort of online persona feeling about them comes across. But you actually feel exactly the way that I thought you would.
Oh, really? That's good then.
Which to me shows me that you are like in tune with who you are.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? But you mentioned your wee birdie there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious about that kind of for a couple of reasons. I think when people tuned into this podcast, it would never have thought that we were going to have such a serious discussion.
I know, right for the start as well.
This is going to be hilarious.
I know, man. I was thinking that when we were talking about it as well. Like, we're getting
like this, but that's kind of. But it's like the natural. Like, that's what I'm saying is that I could have this thing where being like, see if I was sitting, see if podcasts. This is on another sidetrack. This is for two ADHD people here, but it's like if you're sitting with something in front of you, right, and I'm going, I want to, like, you know, if I want to get views or I want to get like a clip or whatever, I need this to be fucking funny. Right? So I'm going to mention this video that blew up and this video that blew up and that thing, right? But then you actually, by doing that, you're not, first of all, you know exactly what that person's doing, right? And secondly, you're not actually allowing for like a natural conversation. So I'd rather have a conversation with you where throughout it I can feel you getting loose.
Exactly, I know.
Rather than just being like, I need to go back to when you were hilarious.
Watch this.
I know. What about this?
I know.
Dan, tell us, like, who's winning pump mate?
Exactly. And I'd feel probably like if I'm watching it like that, like I'd probably get anxious again. Yeah. Like, oh fuck, like.
And so like it's good to be able to do that, but what I wanted to ask you was, see, when you started doing these videos, right? Like, obviously, the TikTok and all that, it's all kind of blown up for you. But when you started doing it, did you imagine in your head, like, this is going to get millions of views?
Never.
People are going to be pure all over it, man.
Nah, I never actually, like, I think when I really started posting him was on Twitter, and that was like 2014 or something like that. That's when I really started realising people were liking him. But I've been making him all my life. Like, I basically got it from my dad. When we were younger, my dad used to have, like, on the big pure cameras, have videos like, and we'd make these zombie videos in the house and that with my cousins and just all this sort of thing. And then it was like, when I was growing up, I'd be having the camera and I'd basically doing the same thing that I was doing in these videos where I'm talking to myself, but my imagination's pure wild and nothing was funny, to be honest. It was just me talking to myself. And then as Twitter happened, people were liking it, and it sort of spurred you on to make more. And then when I was going like more imaginative, it was like people were liking it, and that happened. And then so I feel like that sort of, where people liking it, it makes you actually want to like continue it more and more. And then TikTok happened, so I like sort of went to that. You know what I mean?
It's just it's funny to me because I think that like the idea of how much you've kind of blown it, because you were telling stories on like Wales Cafe about how you would be going out and people would just be walking by and be like, who's wanting and you're like that. That's so mad that you just did a video. Like,
I know, it is crazy. Like, like
people are just singing about it now.
I know that is. I was out for the Scotland game last weekend, and I was waiting in the queue, and people were coming down there like, sorry, pal. That's you that makes your stupid fucking videos, and I was like, just in the queue like that, shaking a hand, and I was like, just stuff like that is fucking weird to like experience.
Do you feel? You know, when we're talking about that and stuff like that, do you feel like any sort of sense of being like, oh, Like, do you take confidence for that? Like,
I do. Do you know what?
or is there a bit of a, like, I guess what I'm asking is there confidence for that, or is there a bit of imposter syndrome?
There's both. I can get confidence for it, right? But I'd probably say what mostly happens is I feel like, oh no, now I need to be funny. Now I need to be like what was in the videos, like fucking doing all this stuff. And then I feel like sometimes I'm always like nice in that. I'm never be like, get the fuck or whatever. I'm always nice to people, but maybe if the conversation happens, I feel like, oh, like maybe they want me to be funny or whatever. Like you start getting in your head about stuff, and you start thinking maybe they're expecting you to be as like stupid as you are in the videos, and like right in the middle of the queue or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But
I mean that will come about by you just being yourself. Like,
aye.
I think that's the main thing to remember for that. But like because I kind of cut you off there to mention that sort of imposter syndrome, but it's funny how you start going, am I funny or?
Aye, exactly. I know.
How did this actually happen?
Exactly. Like, am I funny or like is just people thinking? Are people laughing at stuff in my videos that weren't meant to be funny, but they think it's funny? Do you know stuff like that? Like,
aye.
Especially when you're putting yourself out there to loads of people, like. And then it's the same thing where it's like people will be laughing at it, but you'll get comments like this is like fucking the worst thing you've ever seen in that. And then they thoughts will be like, oh no, that's that. You feel like sometimes I feel like that's who I'll be seeing when I'm out, is the voices that are like, this is the worst video I've ever seen. Where normally it's people saying your videos are funny, but I'm waiting for people to come to me like, I seen your video last night, mate. That was fucking shite. Stuff like that. I'm waiting for that sort of thing to happen, man.
But I mean, that's something that's been like a common theme recently on the podcast when people say stuff like that. It's like Gordon Duncan says something great about that. It was like you can get like 1,000 people saying
aye,
that was class, and then you can get 100 people saying you can get like 50 people saying, oh, that was like the worst thing I've ever seen. Right?
And it plays in your mind. That's the one that takes over.
It's like, but it's 90% good, 10% bad, but you're just thinking about the 10% bad.
It's like you dwell on it. It's like if I put a video up and I see comments coming through, and you're like, oh, people are liking it and that, right? And it's like, well, I can describe it as like, it goes, that's good comments, right? And then see the one bad one, it goes, just stops right in your brain. And you're like that, oh no, like, and then for someone like me, I can think to myself, oh, that video was shite. Do you know, like, I could have loads of likes, but I can be like, wait, they're right, actually, that video's the worst video I've ever put on my life. Like, I start thinking like that, which is probably like the worst way to be, but.
Well, it's also, it's natural, like, human nature.
Aye.
But I think it's just about keeping that perspective of realising that, like, all of that stuff is just noise, really, in the sense that none of it's in your control. And as long as the mindset that I've adapted for it is as long as you're enjoying what you're doing,
yeah,
then
exactly.
that really matters.
I know, and I do it as well. Like, I think in the moment maybe it's when it comes in it's a bit bad, but do you know what normally will happen to me is, like, if I put a video up and I find it's fun, before I put it up I find it's funny, right? I put it up and then I'll just like leave it be. It's if I go back to it, I can start laughing at the same videos and I can be like, oh, like that's why I put that up. I think the comments sometimes get you in that moment where it can sort of like change your perception of what you were like, oh, maybe that wasn't so funny. But if you leave it for a while and you watch back and you go, all right, it was just that cloud in my judgment, yeah, it was funny. Do you know what I mean? Which is like, I think everyone's going to get that. If that Gordon Duncan said that as well. Like, it sticks with you for a bit, but then after a while, you're just like, do you know what? All these comments that are saying it's funny takes over, like people saying that it was absolutely shite.
Well, exactly. And I think as well, when you get that volume of people like watching it, you're going to get.
I know, exactly. Yeah, you can never expect it to be like everyone finding it.
And most of the time, that's because they feel a certain way about themselves.
Aye.
I mean, not most of the time, all the time, really. I mean, unless there's actual like legitimate criticism or something. Like,
aye.
Which
you never really get. Like, normally,
aye. But like, they could be like a lot, especially in Scotland. If you post a video that gets like however many views and likes and that, people look at that before they've even watched the video and go, "This wee bastard."
I know.
Fuck this
so
guy.
True. And if they see people saying it's funny, they be like, I didn't know what's so funny about this guy. But do you know what I mean? Like, they start getting angry that they didn't see what's funny about it.
Because they're just angry that they're not funny.
Aye, well, they're like that. Like, how's just getting so much, like...
Natasha's not in their DMs? Or is that her name?
No, it's Asia.
Oh, Asia?
Natasha's the other one. We can't talk about it.
No. I want Asia to know that was massive. Dad does not mention anyone called Natasha, right? I put you in the doghouse.
Need to turn the lights off now, like change the mood here.
But no, so I brought up your pod, right? But before that, I kind of went into that because it seemed to me as if you kind of met her or knew of her through Twitter.
On Twitter, I put a video up and then she quoted it and she followed me.
I seen this.
And then she was like saying, I don't know, it was just like a quote that was like, this would do it for me or something like that, in their words.
Oh, aye, because wait, the video in question you're talking about is the one we were talking about. You're talking something about shagging, mate. It's something about
probably, mate.
No, but it was, mate. It was like something like I know how to get. This is how you get a bird.
Oh, the walking. It was
the walking.
That's what it was. Like, aye.
I think I wanted to pick you up with that, mate. Fuck's sake, cheers for that, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I'm so sorry.
All you need to get birds is walk this way. I'm like, no bother, Dan.
I know, mate. Fucking hell, I'm gonna delete that. As soon as I get home.
See, when I seen it, I was like, this guy needs to know this is order, man. I mean, you publicly cut my grass.
Is this why you got me on the pod? Well, you were meant to get me on the podcast years ago. Is this what you're going to say?
Actually, do you know, Stephen, we're talking about this. I'm going to try and pull up this particular video,
right?
Because it's you. So you're talking about how all you need to do to get a lassie is walk this way, like just walk a certain way.
Aye.
And I'm watching it going, this fucking guy, man.
But it's on the song that I play. I think that's all you need for the song.
Because I'm going, well, cheers for that.
I know. You know what? That's fucking very bad. That's not very inclusive of me. I'm going to actually have to delete that.
No, but I mean, look, it doesn't. You don't need to walk if you're this handsome. That's
I know exactly. That's what I mean. I've got to actually turn the walk on. That's what I've not got anything going for me except for the walk. That's what I feel.
Well, you've got a better hairline than me.
No, it's fake.
It's a fake, is it? Is it fake? Right, so I'm going to let you go back to the story. So you posted this video.
Aye, and then she messaged me on that. And she quoted it, and I messaged her. And then the first thing she said to me was, she was like, "I've got a very important question to ask you." And I was like, "Oh fuck, what's this?" And then she went, "Do you like to light up a big fat doob?" And then we found out that she likes to smoke in that. I was like, smoking it, it's like that, and it just went for there basically. And then she's from Glasgow, and I'm from Edinburgh. Organised a date in Glasgow. Happened to be the same date as that I had done the Fitzbean Happening podcast.
Edit that out.
Aye, sorry. I had done that podcast, but also I got pissed before that. Was drinking, like I got pissed before that, right, for confidence, and then Beans edit that out as well. I
like Beans by the
way. We got beers for the podcast, so I was drinking during it, and then I feel like even at the end of it, there's photos like us together that I didn't remember getting taken on that. Like, but then we went for a date, and it went well as well as it could be. I think I was pissed, and she put me to a hotel like in Glasgow, and then we got a second date, and then it just went for there, and now we're still gone. I wish I could count, but I don't know.
You said the elbow jet?
Oh, aye, 100. I said it on the first night.
Ah, no way! No way,
and she was
man.
like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Well, you'll get to know me better."
Oh.
I've not said it since. Nah, I'm joking.
So I mean, see, now that is when you know she's into you, but because
I know, because that could freak a lot of birds out if I'm like that, like
mate,
steaming and pure, I love you and that.
Mate, like, I've done it before, and let's just say I'm single. You know what I mean? So
well, do you know how you're saying that? You're saying that you're very emotional on that. I feel that's what I see with drink as well. I can be just. So I feel like at that moment she was just getting me, and I was like, you know what? I need to tell her I love her. First date. And then she was laughing about it in the morning. She was like, "You told me you love me." I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" But it could have went so much worse. It could have we could have got the restraining order or something like that.
But I mean, it's really funny because you're obviously talking about. So when I mentioned about the emotional side, I think it was right.
Aye.
What I think is quite interesting about that is that when you are kind of somebody that was your heart in your sleeve a little bit, if you're really having a good time and enjoying something, instead of this is something that I've had to like actively work on, especially in the last few months, is sort of not getting too high with the highs and too low with the lows, and just being able to sort of maintain things. Because whenever if I'm having a really good time with somebody, I'm like, instead of going, this is really fun,
you think it's
my head goes, this is unbelievable.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like, I'm going to be like, I can be with this person forever.
Yeah,
that's just the way that my mind works. It goes like, I want to buy her flowers and take her here and
aye.
And it's like your head kind of so what I'm saying is like, if you're having like a wee bad day, it can feel like the end of the world.
Your highs are high and your lows are low, sort of thing. Like I feel like, sorry if I had to jump in there. I feel like I've had that loads like through my life. Is like, I think my mum always said to me, is like, your highs are high and your lows are low. Where see, like when I'm really like happy in that, like I'm just buzzing. But see when I'm low, I'm just look so slumped and whatever. And it sometimes plays into sort of situations like past relationships. If like something's not going well or whatever, I'll feel absolutely the worst about it. But I'll be the exact same as you, is where I want to just show the person, like, you want to just, you're like, oh, maybe not I say I love you on the first date or that, but you know what I mean? Like, sort of stuff like that. Just luckily this one, that was actually like that, I'll see you again then.
Was it like, so see, obviously you said it the first night, was there a gap between when you said it again?
Aye, there's a big gap. Because the morning when I found it, I said it, I was like, oh, fuck's sake. And then she was like, that's fine. But then I waited a while until I said it again, because imagine I was like that, well, cheers, love you, and that. Like,
so, just in case anyone's like, if you say love you in the first day, don't just keep saying it. Wait a wee bit.
Let them know that the second time you say it is actually like when you mean it.
So how long have you been together?
Like a year, nearly like a year and a half, basically.
Because she started to come into the videos a wee bit.
Aye, she has. Well, just when I have to say it, I fucking say this behind the video. Nah, I'm joking. Like she's up for it sometimes, that, especially if I've been drinking and that. Then she's like, she takes a big part in it. But sometimes, so you know what's funny as well? Like this is where anxiety with me making videos in my house myself. If she's there, like, and I get an idea for the video, even when she's there, I can be making the video and go, I feel weird about this. There's like someone in the background that's like judging you when you're doing it, but she's never thinking to herself, what the fuck is this guy doing? But in my head, I'm like, this is normally just me. Like, just, you know what I mean? It's just, even that comes into play with it.
Well, it's like, do you think that the fact that they would do it with her elbows just shows you how comfortable
exactly, I know, that's true.
You know, there was a couple of ways I was going to go with this, right? Because I was quite curious as to, like, do you feel like she kind of, like, because I see with people like us, but more specifically yourself, because I think you're probably a bit more sort of, like, I'm a bit buzzier than me, in the sense that you're able to, you know, you have this sort of personality where you can be hilarious all the time. I'm terrible at stand up. I'm terrible at doing stand up comedy. It's never really been my thing for obvious reasons. So I've never been that funny because of that. If they start inventing sit down comedians, then I might have a shout. Anyway. So like, do you feel like, you know, everybody says that opposites attract? You seem similar, but do you also feel like she kind of melds you out a wee bit?
She does, but then in the same way, we're the exact same people. Like, we're both as weird as each other, which is something that I've never found with anybody that I've been with before. Like, I can actually be 100% just my weird self with her, and she'll probably be weirder. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's probably the reason why I feel so confident to make videos beside her or do this sort of thing. It's not like she wanted to mellow me out. She probably just big me up to be weirder even more. Do you know what I mean?
That's a better way of putting it. Like, the fact that she's allowing you to be.
She spurs me on to be even weirder, basically.
Just a bigger version of yourself.
Which is, I know that is.
Because it shows, because you've made some content this year, and I feel that your content has been a bit more consistent this year in terms of new videos and stuff like that. And they've been a bit longer as well, and it seems to have a bit more of a story arc to it.
I know, that's true. I look at my videos and just be like, I look at my videos are just one joke that I think of, and then it doesn't end with anything. I just go, I'll just end it there. Sometimes I'm tired by the end of recording the video. I just go, fuck it, I'll just actually put a song here, and that'll be it.
Well, seeing these like videos that have had a bit more of a dialogue in it, and they go on a wee bit. Have you ever thought about doing like a longer sort of, I don't know, like some sort of sketch show, like a Limmy type of thing?
I thought about it. Like, I've had like my brothers and that saying to me, you need to put these together and like maybe make some of them like join together and that. But whenever, see how like you were saying about I've not been as consistent like last year, whatever. Something that's just because I've just no got any ideas at all. And sometimes I will just be sitting there and I'll be like try to think my best to like, this would be funny, but it's never natural, and it always doesn't turn out that well. But then the ones that I've put up now are quite longer, are just like me just in the moment making these and that. And sometimes I plan to make them like a minute long, right? But I'm too busy just talking shit to myself. I'm like, how am I to cut this without making it look weird? So I end up like 3 minutes long or whatever. But I would love to, like, maybe not make it as, I don't know, I'd hate to be too long, because I couldn't watch that long in myself. But I'd like to be like, maybe like a short wee video with different wee sketches played out. Some of them, because I always like make it stuff like we like songs in my videos and that. But some of them have songs. Some of them like, do you know, something like that. Like Let Me Show, like you're saying. But maybe not like a half an hour long. Maybe just like 10 minutes or something like that. Just something like that.
Because I feel like if you really zoned in and watching like a 10-minute bit for that whole thing, because there's like characters that you do where you think those characters, it'd be interesting to see those characters
expanded in that,
in a little bit of a yeah, like expanded into like a wee story.
Exactly.
Seeing how that would end.
I know that I do think that, but a lot of times I think that TikTok, if I'm planning to put it on TikTok, I think like this TikTok span. Even I'm bad for it, right? See if I go on a video and it's like 3 minutes long, I go, oh, fuck this. I need something that's fucking 13 seconds long and it's funny as anything. But when I'm making it, I try and make it short. But then just like you're saying that there, like I should actually just go for it and just be like I need to just expand it, like flesh these characters out and make like a long sketch or something like that and then just see how it goes. Because it is fun when I'm doing it, but there's sometimes that voice in my head saying, no one's going to sit to the end of this and watch this. You know what I mean?
Well, then what you should do is just prove that voice wrong.
Exactly, I know.
You know what I mean? Because people find it funny, and it's like, because then you've obviously built this audience up, you know, and you've done really well doing that. But then it's like, where do you want to go for? Do you want to just be the guy that's known as the wee funny guy that does the wee funny videos, or where are you going to, you know, in your head, like, have you got like ideas of where you want to take it? Like, what do you, because a lot of the time, people in your situation that have built the following you go will usually think of two things. They'll go, right, I'll maybe start a podcast. Like, I'll maybe actually do a podcast. Mm-hmm. Or like maybe I'll try doing stand-up comedy.
Steve, stand-up comedy is something that I could never see myself doing. Like, I remember when I was in school and I used to say to myself, see if I didn't need to make anything in my life and that, I'm going to do stand-up comedy, because I'd just be like, fuck it, that. As you get older, you realise that you didn't get more confident. You're the same person. So I was like, there's no way of doing that. But with the videos, I feel like I would love to get like better at making them, and then maybe expand it to the point where it's like with more people, or even like to make them look more professional. Because I don't know, again, people would get bored of just seeing me doing the same thing, and then even I'd get bored being the same characters when I'm in my house and just like talking to myself and that. Like, it'd probably be videos of me just with just a song playing and just me mouthing stuff to each other.
Well, because my talking to you and listening to, I would say that my idea to you would be create a YouTube channel.
Do you know what? I've always thought about that, right? And then like sort of put videos up. So people have told me as well, have you got like a YouTube that we can get your videos on? Because it's so much easier. And I need to actually like to do that, because if people want to see my videos, they can actually know what one to click on and stuff like that. I'm just too lazy. I need to actually... Because
you can do these... I mean, what is it that you do for work right now in terms of...
I just work in a Sainsbury's, like night shift.
I'm assuming that TikTok doesn't pay your bills?
Nah, it doesn't pay my bills, nah.
But like, YouTube could though?
I know, that'd be...
I mean, so like, that's what I'm saying is that you obviously... You have an idea of who you are, and the way that you put things across is really good. You're really funny. So it's like, what are you... I know you don't want to work in Sainsbury's your whole life, you know what I mean? So I'm just kind of... I'm thinking of this as a motivational speech. Like,
well, do you know what? I need that, mate, because since I was like in school, I've always thought, right, I need to find out what I want to do. Like, and then in school, I'd be like that. I remember when I was in school, like, I think 25, I'd be getting married, and then 30, I'd have a baby. Do you know when you're just thinking stuff like that, right? I'm 28 in April, and I still didn't have a clue what I want to do. Like, that's just the way I'm like going with stuff, and I'm like, I still love making the videos and that. I love to for something to come along and like help me out that way, but I'm still in that boat, like basically like. And
mate, I'm not saying that. Like, here's the thing as well. Like, see when you're in your 20s, like, it's okay to have nothing figured out.
Aye, I know that's a thing that people think that you should have everything sort of do.
It's like you don't like the vast majority of us have no idea what we're doing. Man.
We're just floating through and just fucking...
We are, but it's like, but we're kind of and what's weird for me is I've recently sort of been thinking about this and realised that it's a privilege to be able to float through.
Aye, that's so true actually.
Because there's so many people that would get like shit that really needs to be dealt with right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we are just able to float. But Stephen, you're able to just float. Like, this is something that I'm doing with the podcast now, is I'm going, right, but I need to start realising that I'm in a privileged position and taking action where I can still float. Aye. So like, you could build this up while you're...
That's a good way to look at it. And instead of being like, I'm not doing anything right now, like I'll just keep continuing to float until something happens. But where you could actually take like, you could actually do stuff now while you're thinking about it, which is what you're. I never really thought about it that way, to be honest.
Well, it took me years of not doing that to get to this point. But it's like, how many years do you want to figure that out?
Exactly.
Because eventually you get to like 35 and you're like,
I know.
and eventually people start going, mate, you need to get it together.
I know, and that is when other people are saying it to you is when you know exactly that's true.
But whoa, what was the thing you just said there where you were like, before that, you were talking about, oh fuck, I hate when this happens.
Oh no, I forgot.
Steven, we were just talking about that there. And we were saying about the idea of like not floating through and taking the action type of thing. Like, oh, there was something you said that was sticking to my head.
Oh,
but
man.
I think what I'm trying to get at is that, you know, you don't like, you kind of think to yourself, right, you don't need to do anything. But what I'm saying is that you realise that this is actually the world's your sort of oyster. And you can.
Well, it's so true. That
No.
Like,
No, I know. Okay. Like you were saying. Give me a second. Right. Give me a second. Right. This is doing my man. Fuck. Like,
I gotta drink your water.
I know. Go for it. It came back to me again. No, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm a pro. This doesn't usually happen to me. Is that when you're sort of like you don't need to do it, and it's one of those things where you go, like, oh, it'll just sort itself out. You were talking about confidence.
Right.
And how.
Oh, like you'd think that when you're older,
that was what it was, mate. Yes.
Come on, that was the water that done
That's
that
what
to
I
me
was
there.
like. The confidence. So you were talking about how when you get older, you just become and this is
You think you'll have it all figured out?
you just figure it out, but then you realise so that in itself is the perfect example of nothing's like, and this is the hardest lesson you'll learn in life, is that nothing's going to happen unless you do something about it. Like,
so true.
Because you just think things will sort itself out, but not if you don't do anything.
Aye.
Right?
I feel like I go more anxious as I go older. You know, when you're younger, you think to yourself like you're just in a different mind. But obviously, when you're still forming,
you're a bit more free.
Aye, and then you get older, everything starts becoming real. Like, oh fuck, I need to do this, I need to do that, and then you start getting anxieties about it and that. So even that is just like a wake up call. Could you start saying, oh shit, stuff is serious now?
Aye, but like it just goes to show, like when we're talking about how you can just float through life and not really think about it. But that in itself, when you're saying how you think that you're just going to get this confidence as you get older, it doesn't come. It's proof that doesn't happen. And everybody's been guilty of that. I've been having this idea that things will just sort itself out, and they do to an extent, but only if you're actually doing something about it.
Exactly. I know you can't just wait for it to happen. Yeah.
So the point is, Darren, is it's all in your hands, mate.
I know, man.
You get fucking 20,000 Twitter followers, all sorts of TikTokers on the go. Let's manifest
some
this.
Bitcoin scammers.
That's it, mate. That's it. But no, like I think because you get so many ideas, and it's like, how do we put that in the actionable process? And I think you've, like you said, you'd never really thought about it like that. But that's taken me sort of like years to figure out the fact that like I want to make this podcast into something, and I'm going, right, well, I need to get this guy on, or this guy on, or this guy on, or whatever, or this woman on. And you go, well, no, it's actually about who you are and what you're going to do and how consistent you're going to be with it. And I've come up with some ideas in terms of being like, I can keep doing the same thing, but I've come up with some ideas in terms of expanding the channel and engaging people into me, because I want to make this into something but I have a genuine good reason behind it. You know what I mean?
Aye.
And I think for you, the genuine good reason for you could be that this is who you are, this is what you want to be, and this is the happiest life you could live. So
exactly, aye.
You may as well just fucking go for it, mate.
I know, aye. I know,
you know
that's so true, aye. But like you say, if you go back to like, you could just be sitting going, oh fuck, I'm not doing anything here, or like I need to like get myself together. You need to actually be thankful that I'm floating through like this, and then also have stuff planned and like start expanding on what what you want to do, which is the Bitcoin scam I'm thinking about already.
Exactly, mate. It's so easy to be like, man, life is so hard. Right?
I know.
But then you look around and you go, actually, I can eat all the food that I
I know.
want.
Aye,
You
like,
know,
what a
and-
cheek you've got even thinking like that. Eh?
and
Like,
it's like, and it's not even like, it's not that your problems don't mean anything, but it's just having a perspective where you go, think about the things that I just totally I don't even think of them as a thing that, like, there's things that we can do that we have that people appear like, I wish I could, have that, or
aye.
and so, but you take it for granted a wee bit, and if you're able to just, if you're in a position, when you start realising, like, I'm in a float position and I'm able to realise that this is a position of, privilege to be in.
Ah, exactly.
And then you can channel that into, like, let's use this and really fucking, because people don't have the time to do podcasts.
Exactly. And the people be thinking, I wish I could do stuff like this. I wish I had the time or the money to do stuff like this. But we're just like, we're sitting there, we're going like that. Well, okay, man, I need to just sit on the couch and watch TV then.
Meanwhile, you're going, but I mean, Matt, but like, meanwhile, you're like, these wee things pure, like, tear you apart a wee bit. You're like, because even the day, like, we got to 90 days a day, and I thought in my head, the 90 days of working out, 90 days being sober, I would get to this day and be like, feeling pure, like, we did it, we're doing it, yes, this is amazing.
Aye.
And there has been times where I felt like that, but see the day, because I built like 90 days in my head up with this big thing, because everybody says that 90 days is the day that you get, like, something becomes a habit and stuff like that. And I'm going to do my handbag and stuff, and this mad song came on in my playlist for my workout before I started doing it. It was a wee, because it was on shuffle and this song came on, it was like a wee love song or whatever. And I was pure, and for some, like, basically there was this person that I was getting over last year, right? And it was pretty tough going for me, because as I say, I'm a very emotional guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not actually something that I spoke about, but not talking about her specifically, but just in terms of the whole situation, it's take me a while to deal with it. But that song came on, and it's like 90 days, and like my head starts going like thinking about all these things, right? And you start beating yourself up and going, this is, I don't feel like it's strange. See, the better that you do with something, your head starts to, we talked about these kind of different voices you have in your head.
Aye.
These conversations, they start to they try to give you every reason to go backwards.
Exactly, I know.
Because it's like, you got to 90 days, but what if you hadn't fucked it last year?
I know.
If you hadn't fucked it last year, you'd have been at day 200 today.
You should be enjoying what, like, the achievement that you've made, like, 90 days. But then your voice, the wee voice, and you goes, well, remember when you fucked this up or something like that? You know what I mean? Like,
that's what it is, mate. And then you go, well, because your head goes, what if you had done it if you hadn't fucked that last year, you'd have got much further than that.
aye.
And then it's so funny because you ever heard the saying, you ever heard this, and I don't really mean this in a religious sense, I mean this more for the voices that you have in your head and conversations you have in your head, where it goes, if the devil is coming for you, you're doing something right. And what that means is that when I'm doing something, when my routine's good, right, what happen is that my voice will be like, try to tell me all these negative things and go, and try to get you to go backwards.
Turn you back,
right?
Yeah.
But see, even as I've been talking to you and I've been thinking about it and I did my workout and that, I'm thinking, it's crazy how ridiculous that actually is. Like, I've done 90 days, but you should have done fucking 100 days.
It's always a voice that's telling you, nah, this isn't good enough.
And it's like that, but acknowledging the fact that came on strongly today, because it's like that negative voice is realising that it's losing every day.
That's a good point.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So the more it's losing, the more it gets a wee bit louder. Every day that you deal with it, you become further and further away from that.
You're getting away from it. I think it's as well as, like, see the you're thinking, like, the 90 days, when you get to 90 days, then you're going, like, that's me, like, you're hitting like a point, and then because you're waiting for, like, fucking fireworks to go for something when you've done it, and when it doesn't happen, then the voice goes, well, that's that then. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that what happens to me in the situations is I need to look back on it and go, I fucking done well there. But in the moment, I could maybe, like, be like, this isn't what I was expecting it to be. It's until I look back and I can actually congratulate myself and be like, I've done well there.
Exactly, Dan. Exactly. Like, that is what it's about. It's like being able to, like, this is what I'm saying is I've had all these thoughts, but then you go, I've actually, see, when I started doing this, like, on day one, I was such a mess, mate. I was such a mess. And I'm going, like, for the past few months, we've had podcasts. Every week, you've mentioned a few guests we've had like Grado and Gordon Duncan. Grado's like a hero of mine.
Aye, he was unreal in it as well, man.
And it was such a buzz, mate.
Aye.
And it was like you need to just remember, like, you have came so far doing this stuff, and we all have a tendency to be like, if we hadn't messed this thing up back then or whatever, but just enjoy what you're doing and be proud of how far you're coming.
Exactly.
Because every day that you're, you know, like, you've came so far just by being here in front of me, in front of the best podcast in Scotland.
Exactly. I know.
Of due respect to everyone else, but I am the best, right? You should get legs, so I'm allowed to be the best podcaster. That's the way I see it. But no, so we'll touch on a couple of less serious things before we. I have no idea how long we've been. I feel like it could either be 20 minutes or 2 hours.
I know.
But you were talking about how I've forgotten your boss name again.
Asia.
Asia messages you saying, do you like
lighting up a big fat
lighting up a big fat dude? Right? And this is probably going to be a question you didn't expect me to ask, but like, I was curious as to, because you're quite high energy about you. You're quite like, you know, you can just, it's good energy, but it's high energy.
Aye.
And it made me wonder, like, does that, just smoking, like, weed and that, does it help, like, kind of mellow you out of it? What are the effects on you? Because one thing I've realised with it is it pure varies. It varies everybody.
Well, I get like that. Like, I can get really, like, there's times when I smoke and I'm like, oh, this is like a good smoke. But there's times when I can smoke and be like that, oh my God, and the thoughts are fucking crazy and stuff like that. It depends with me, basically. There's a lot of times though when I can do it and then I start thinking of all these ideas, like, and I'm on my notes like that. Like, sometimes I look at it in the morning and I'm like, that's one of the worst ideas ever. It just looks like a bunch of words. But I think it is good for me, like, do you know, just to calm down the thoughts and that, and just like to chill out. And then sometimes, like, I love when I finished up for the week and just smoking a joint and then getting a movie on or something like that. And actual, like, putting my phone down and watching the movie rather than, like, there's times when if I've got a movie on, I'll have it, like, a movie that could be like an hour and 30 minutes long, I'll make it last like 4 hours because I'll be pausing it every second and be on my phone for ages, and I'll be reading up who's, like, what were they in again, and then the movie trivia on IMDb and that, and like finding out what was going on. Like,
I get exactly what you mean. Because that's what made me sort of curious about it, is the fact we spoke quite a bit through it. That's about, like, having all these sort of thoughts in your head, and then there's always like a conversation in your mind.
Aye.
And I feel like that's where sort of weed works best for people, is it sort of can kind of mellow you out in terms of just like being like stopping that conversation for a wee bit.
Yeah.
But while stressing, I don't know if you watched the podcast with me, Evan, and Jamie Dan.
Yeah.
We had kind of a big conversation about this, but it's like, it's so normalised as this thing that's like cool and that.
Aye, I know.
But it can get bad though.
Well, I've had so much experiences with it being bad. I've had, like, sometimes when it's meant to calm down the thoughts, it can ramp them up, where it feels like I can't shut them off. Like, sometimes the voice in my head is just like, it's louder than any other voice in my head, and that can sort of bring on like panic attacks and stuff like that. And see, like, if you're stoned by other people, you don't want to be saying to them like, oh, I'm fucking absolute like, I'm panicking here. So you can sometimes be watching the movie like that with your hands going everywhere and you're like trying to act normal. So there's so many times where, like, I'll 100% say, like, if you're not feeling in the right frame of mind or whatever, like, then smoke, because I've done it before and that's the worst thing, like, ever. As much as I love it, like, there's times where I'd think, oh, fuck, I'm never doing this again, and then I get to the next weekend.
I know, I get you. Tell us, like, give me a wee, like, sort of, I'm trying to imagine, because I've got quite a few, like, stories of being at, like, in my height of drinking and such, you know, being a bit mad and doing things that I was like, how did that happen?
In what way?
I'll give you an example,
right?
Because then if I tell you, like, a crazy story, it might spark you to tell a story as well, right? I was when a Halloween party,
right,
on but I went because basically what I do is I crawl about, right? So everybody crawls and walks. I just kept on crawling. That's the way that I sort of put it. So when I go to gas, I need to leave the chair outside the gas because most of them have got stairs.
Oh, right.
So this was when I was like 17 or whatever, and I knew I was going to be on my knees crawling a bit, so I stuck on a Scooby-Doo costume because I thought if I'm going to crawl a bit, I'll go as a dog.
Aye, that's a good.
You know? And this party, everybody, like it was one of those house parties that just got out of hand. Everybody was there, people that I didn't know, but just like a mental amount of people. And I go in and I'm crawling about, and there's people that think that I'm really dedicated to the costume. They're like, this guy is really like, he's going for it. That's Halloween, man. He's really, he's really into this, man. Like, and so I'm crawling about, but I'm pissed. And then the party gets out of hand, and the police come and all that, kick everybody out. As I couldn't ever do it, I plop myself on the couch, right? So the police, he comes in and he goes, get out of here, like get out of everybody else. And I'm like, my chair's outside and I'm going, well, I can't.
Do you know what? Sorry, mate. I've got the image of you having still the Scooby-Doo like mask on when you're sitting next to me.
No, like it was like a big Scooby-Doo onesie.
Like, I just got the image of you with like the actual mask on. Like, sorry, continue.
So I'm sitting there and he goes, you need to get out of here. And I'm like, right, well, give him in a wheelchair and that. I need to get the wheelchair and that. And he's like, but they were being quite aggressive about it, trying to get everyone out and that and all like that. And so I started crawling to the door, but they think that I'm taking the piss out of them. Because they're going, you think we're so good at the costume and that and all like that. It's like, don't take the piss out of them, man, fucking get out of here. Like, they're just going off on it me a bit and think that I'm taking the mickey and that. Because, and then I say to them, no, I'm in a wheelchair and it's outside. And they're like, don't take the piss. The guy in the wheelchair is already in his wheelchair outside. And I'm going, what? So one of my pals has went in the chair and is driving about in the chair, right? And they don't know anywhere, so they think the guy in the chair is actually the guy in the chair, and I'm just making this up. So like, I'm trying to convince them, like, yeah, guys, no, listen, I actually can't walk. Like, they're telling me to go down these stairs, and I'm like, mate, like that's not his wheelchair, that's my wheelchair. And they're looking at me as if,
I think you're taking it first.
They're looking at me as if, do you think we're stupid? And I'm like, well, you're going to feel stupid in about a few minutes. And they're like ready to, like, you know that scene at a still game with Joel? And it's like they're holding him. Like geese are driving up the road, so they're like holding me like that, right? And they're almost preparing to like get me down the stairs.
Joke, man.
And I'm saying to my pal, like, I'm looking at him at the eyes, he's howling, right? And I'm like, mate, go and do us a favour. Stand up there now, please, because you're really getting me in the ball. But honestly, it was the funniest thing because he stands up and the redness on their faces.
When he realised.
And I think they just left.
Aye, no wonder they didn't fucking. Especially they were trying. I'm trying to get like stories like that. I can remember.
Obviously that's a bit mental, but I'm just imagining you being Philip and something weird happening.
I remember there when I was at one of my mates' parties and we were fucking away with it, and I'm such a lightweight as well, right? So I was fucking gone, and then had my phone in my pocket. I was walking home. I remember like people going past it. People were actually still going to the party when I was heading home. That's how fucked I was because it was like still early doors and I was pure staggering home, right? Got home and then flashed forward to the morning that I woke up and I touched myself. And you know what? I'd actually waterlogged my iPhone. And my iPhone, I tried to turn it on, it was like, it wasn't working and I was like, what the fuck? That's because I'd pushed it all the way through. And then she tried to tell people that. So like, what happened to your iPhone? I was like, fucking just pushed the bed, man.
Oh my god! I don't know what happened. Because you'd sure not want to admit that.
I know.
Like, no.
Well, it's one of the things where, like, the memories come to me. I was like, I remember like walking in and like people going past me, and I think I was just like, screaming at everyone going past and that. And then I just got to my bed, and I was like, I never took any bit of clothing off. I was in my jeans and that, just pushed off it, and then waterlogged my fucking iPhone.
Oh man, I didn't know what to expect for that, but that was
it's funny how you're telling that story, and that's the first story I thought it was. I fucking just pushed my bed.
You would think what's hilarious about it, your story sounds more stable than mine.
I know, man.
There you go. You think it'd be the way about? I'd be telling us about you'd be telling us about.
I know, fucking hell, man.
But no, what was I going to say? See that one of the more recent videos you done, right? Or not? One of the more recent videos that I seen that I thought was hilarious was like when you were outside and it was dark and that, and you're just like this guy in your visit this voice in the background that's going and you said this saying it was like you being. He was like, "What are you doing out there here yourself and that?" And you're like,
"Oh, what was it? It's the one it was just me talking and then the voice comes in. It's like, aye, it's giving beast, mate."
That was so good,
mate. That's me like walking in for your work, right? And mate, see if there's a behind the scenes. There's like wee different points, right, where like because it's like early in the morning, it's dark, right? The cars have stopped going past. I'm at this like wall, and I'm like, aye, what's happening, mate? Right, and a car goes past. I just stop turning the car and just start walking away. I'm waiting for like a silent moment where I can start saying this stuff, and then I just edit it over, and then I put that up, right? In 2 days, it had like that much views, and then it's just. All these people are like, "Oh my god, who is that person? What's he saying that?" And everyone's starting to think it's a different person. That's actually like, that's fucking.
I seen all these comments being like thinking it wasn't you.
I know, and I just let it happen because I wasn't. And then some people were like, obviously it's his fucking voice. And I was like, I'll leave that. If they want to break the illusion.
I'd never heard that saying before. That's giving beast, mate.
Do you know what it is, mate? It's all this TikTok pattern and that, and I thought it'd be so funny to just see like a guy saying that it's giving beast. I'm trying to get like other stuff they say in that, like what's that they say? Like, we love ourselves or we have king. I was thinking about stuff like that as well, man.
We are self-aware kings.
Yeah, exactly.
As
man.
is clear from this.
Exactly. Go back to the start of the podcast and you'll see.
Exactly. Go back to the start.
Aye.
But I mean, I don't know if you've seen that Matt Black thing he did with Jane Dingus.
Oh, how fucking hilarious was that, man? But I remember when he was on your podcast and he first started talking about it. And did they film it here?
Yeah, he filmed it in here.
Did they? Aye, because I remember you were saying you can use this podcast for it, and then I seen that. So that's where it started.
Came full circle.
I know.
See, you're giving me the rub there, that big video there. Like, there's a wee clip of him talking about it. How he was saying, like, I wanted to do that James Dingus thing, and I clipped it. And the effort he put into that was so funny.
I know, with the Elvis set.
I know. It's true. But listen, mate, we could talk all day. How long have we waited here, Joe?
Over an hour.
Over an hour.
Fuck shit, you better cut that down.
People that listen to this regularly, they'll be thinking to themselves, who the fuck is Joe? Where's...
No way.
Where is Paul Shields? Where is Paul Shields? Well, Paul is actually, just to clarify...
He's tied up behind the...
Right, actually under the desk. He's been wanking Dad this whole time.
I know, that's why I'm so happy, man.
That's why he's not feeling anxious. He's getting some relief. I think he's came like 4 times. All of my trousers now.
Get that.
Hey, that's what happened to your phone. It's like piss stains and cum stains now. But no, Paul has COVID, right? So we wish Paul all the best.
I know, we wish you the best.
And Joe came in because I was like, we've been trying to schedule this for probably like a couple of years now, it feels like. I don't know if that's exaggerated.
No, actually it is. And
I was like, no, I'm not rescheduling this. It needs to happen. And so I contacted my man, Evan Riley, and he was like, I wonder if Joe would do this. And you mean Joe, the guy that knows all about Billy's better than Riley's guy? that Joe. And he was like, aye, that Joe. So you know, now we all know the real reason that Joe left Riley's guy.
Exactly, right? I know.
He wanted to come and do all about Billy because he said, Keane has better wheels, you know, he has better power, he looks better, and that's it. And I say that out of total love for Evan and Jamie, of course. They'll be back on soon. But I just wanted to say a wee public thank you to Joe for coming
thanks, Joe.
Last minute and getting it done for this beautiful, wonderful podcast that we have done with Darren Fox today. I really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks, mate.
And like I said, we could talk all day, but you know, you always want to let the people want
exactly
more.
Until next 5 years, I'll be back.
Exactly. Like, honestly, and I would have you back on any time to talk about Eden, man. So
love that, mate. I'll be back. Definitely.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're smashing it. And is there anything you want to plug at the end here? Just like
just my Twitter's Mr. Fox 13, and that's the same as my TikTok.
And because I plugged your bird so much, he's going to set me up with something like that.
That's the plan.
That's what Tell
You
her.
need to tell your lover first date though.
Aye, cool. I'll keep that in mind. So see if she has a pal that needs to be told that someone loves her. I'll do it. You know what I mean? Because it's
Double
like.
date, both of us just say we love you on the first
Honestly,
date.
mate, I mean, it's fair enough, you know, having that at time, but we all need kids, isn't it?
Exactly, man.
I mean, I'm struggling here.
You will get that sorted, mate. Defo.
No, cheers, Dan.
Right,
We'll
perfect,
talk
mate.
again
Cheers.
soon, mate.
Right.